Welcome back to the KC Sports Report. I'm your host, Michael Darcy, and today I have the luxury of being joined by my good friend, Josh Fan. He's the founder of ShowMeFootball.com and a contributor at Arrowhead Addict, and he's also, for the first time on this channel, Airman Josh Fan. So, Josh, as you know, it's been a while since we've caught up. First of all, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. You know, things could be better. They could be worse. But yeah, I mean, it's been a while since we've gotten to talk, at least for a video. But yeah, it's official. I'm an airman now.
I mean, you're doing big things in the world. I'm still in college, but thank you for your service, and I'm sure you're going to do a lot of great things, not only in the Air Force, but in the media space as well, because you're killing it on YouTube. I know you're trying to make a comeback, but, you know, the Chiefs season is right around the corner. We have football this Sunday, which still doesn't feel real to me. You know, I'm kind of still locked in that summer of 2022 mode, but, you know, football is here, and I think that, you know, the Arizona Cardinals are going to be a tough first opponent. We're going to have a Cardinals team without DeAndre Hopkins, but with Kyler Murray and J.J. Watt, I mean, that defense is always good and competitive, and the offense is going to be on the lookout, trying to do something special this year because Kyler just got paid in the offseason. So, Josh, what are your overall thoughts on this Week 1 matchup? And I know this isn't a full-blown preview, but, you know, what are your early thoughts of the Arizona Cardinals?
Well, first, before anything, I did want to say that, you know, it's nice the time that I went into basic training because it meant that it was that weird part of the summer where there wasn't really anything going on in the NFL, and then boom, I'm back, and here's the season. I didn't really miss much, and I have a good gist of what's going on, although I did come back, and unfortunately Frank Clark was still on the team, so that was a little bit of a disappointment.
He's the guy that never goes away. He's always here.
Absolutely. But to answer your question, the Cardinals are actually a really interesting first opponent because I am lukewarm on them. Now, on paper, they have a lot of talent. They do. But they're a team that has boom or bust potential to me. Last year, they had a pretty good year, made the playoffs, and they got bounced in the first round, but like this offseason, from what I remember, Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury seemed to almost have like a falling out. And there was that weird thing where Kyler Murray wanted to call plays. And I don't know, it's just there's weird vibes surrounding the Cardinals organization right now. On top of that, they had the tragic passing of Jeff Gladney, which I have no idea, you know, what impact that has on the locker room when a player suddenly dies at such a young age. And then, I don't know, the Cardinals are a very interesting Week 1 opponent, and, you know, the Chiefs are going to be catching them in the midst of DeAndre Hopkins' 6-game suspension, so they're not going to be dealing with him. So, I don't know. I don't really know what to make of the Cardinals, if I'm being honest.
You know, I kind of share those same beliefs. In thinking about this game, I kind of forgot that DeAndre Hopkins did get suspended. I think it was for the first 4 games?
Yeah.
Like, that's going to be a big loss for the Cardinals. And, you know, Kyler Murray has really been in the news all offseason long, and he did a laundry list of things that I honestly don't remember, and I really don't care. But he's going to be playing on the football field in Week 1. And I think that whole thing about him calling plays was in the preseason where he took over as like the coach and the offensive coordinator calling plays. I'm not really sure, but I think that come Week 1, the Chiefs are going to be in a good position in this game because, you know, if you take last year out of it, the Chiefs start off hot, and at least they have under the Andy Reid coaching era. And I think that if they come out in this game and just play the kind of football that we think that they can, I mean, Arizona's a good team, but kind of like you said, I don't really know what to make of them because, you know, they haven't ever really been great. They made the playoffs last year, but in that playoff game, if I remember correctly, they kind of got blown out by the Rams. So I'm not really high on the Cardinals, but the Chiefs have a really tough first 8 games. Their entire schedule is difficult, but I believe their first 8 games are against playoff opponents. So the Cardinals on paper might not be this juggernaut, but they're still going to be a good team, and I think they'll play the Chiefs close. But, you know, I agree with you to the sense that the Cardinals don't have that same fear that teams like the Rams or other NFC teams have, at least in my opinion.
No, yeah, I agree. And, I mean, if the Chiefs are the team we still think they can be, despite a roller coaster of an offseason, they should still win this game. I mean, the Cardinals, like you said, they're not a juggernaut. They're not a top team in the NFC. I think they're a playoff contender for sure, but this is a game that the Chiefs should win. And you know what, Michael? I have a question for you because this is one of the first things I wrote about when I came back or out of basic training. And I think this team, after everything they've done, is one of the most complete teams that this organization has put on the field in years. I think this is the most complete team of the Patrick Mahomes era. If you look up and down the roster, I don't really think you can poke a lot of holes. I mean, I think the one big concern that I had and a lot of fans had was pass rush and defensive end with a rookie in Karlaftis and then our buddy Frank Clark coming back for another year. But then they signed Carlos Dunlap, and that kind of felt like the move to me. That felt like the move that just completed this team. Like, they have no weaknesses. Like, yeah, there's some spots where it's like, hey, they can upgrade, like right tackle or maybe cornerback, since a lot of people are so new to that group. But, I mean, it's not like, oh, man, this position is so bad they must address it. Like, they just feel like a really complete team.
You know, that's a really good point, because last year I think I went on record saying I think this was like the deepest Chiefs team that we've seen in recent memory. That aged very poorly. But, you know, when you look at it this year, I think that you have a really good point. And the area in which I really agree with you is because the Chiefs have right now 3 wide receivers that I would be very, very happy with at wide receiver 1, 2, or 3. Sky Moore, Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and those are all just new additions. You didn't have that last year. You basically had Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman, and Demarcus Robinson. And I think that adding those wide receivers, it made the wide receiver core better. All the new draft picks to the defense, it made the defense better. It's younger, it's faster. I think that this is one of the deeper teams. I don't know if it's the deepest, but it could be the best that Mahomes has had. And that's really scary because they traded away arguably the best wide receiver in football, and they got better. Like, that should terrify everybody else in the NFL, because if getting rid of a player of that caliber doesn't give this team any setbacks, I don't know what would. Like, I really don't.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I love everything they did with the receivers this offseason, besides trading Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
And you know what? Speaking of Tyreek Hill, Michael, I know I watched it might have been your latest video, or it might have been the one before that. But you said you were trying to stay away from the Tyreek Hill drama.
Yeah.
Well, I thought this would be a great opportunity for me to bring it up on your channel. Tyreek Hill drama. What do you think of it? He's been throwing shade supposedly at Mahomes and the rest of the Chiefs, and he claims that he got tossed to the side like trash. I mean, what do you think of that?
I'm glad that you addressed which drama you're talking about, because he seems to say something new every single day, to the point where I kind of just stopped paying attention. You know, someone said it, and I think it really kind of summed up the whole Tyreek Hill situation. He's really kind of acting like the bitter ex. Like, the Chiefs traded him to a team in which he wanted to go to. He lives in Miami during the offseason, and to go there and get paid the biggest sum of money that he will ever see in his entire lifetime, you think that he would have nothing negative to say about the previous team that he played for, the previous team that he won a Super Bowl with, the previous team in which, if he retired tomorrow, would be in contention to be in the NFL Hall of Fame and definitely in the Chiefs Hall of Fame. To see him come out and just say all this negative stuff, you know, it really is hurtful. I mean, I don't know why Patrick Mahomes hasn't said anything. I mean, I guess I know why, because he's not that kind of person. But I wonder if they've had any conversations behind the scenes, because, I mean, Josh, could you imagine if me and you got off this podcast and I just started tweeting stuff, not necessarily behind your back, but I could have talked to you about this stuff during the stream or off episode or something like that? I don't understand it. And I think that, you know, it really kind of shows you that when Tyreek Hill was in this organization, we never heard him say stuff like this. But as soon as he leaves, as soon as he's not in the Kansas City Chiefs franchise bubble, he's acting out. He's saying all this ridiculous stuff, and he's really not acting very mature. But, you know, I don't really care. I mean, I love Tyreek Hill. I'm always going to love Tyreek Hill. I have an immense amount of respect for him. I know that's a hot take in this climate, but when you look at his previous history of what he did for this team, I'll never hate him, but I think where a lot of Chiefs fans see it right now, the stuff that he's saying, it makes it really hard to like him.
Well, before I add on to your point, I do want to say, Michael, you can talk crap to me anytime on Twitter.
Yeah, which I do because you're a Mizzou fan, but, I mean, that's here nor there.
That's what I was going to say. I tagged you about the KU attendance the other day, which actually ended up being better than I thought after that picture got posted. But, Booth, it needs a lot of work. The fan base needs a lot of work.
It's crazy that if you post something in the pregame that there's not that many people there, but once the game starts, the fans start to pour in. You know what I mean? Context helps.
We'll see how long that lasts. That lasts.
Yeah.
But to add on to your point, so, the way I feel about the Tyreek Hill situation, I really don't care. I don't. And like you said, he acts like the bitter ex, and I expect that actually to an extent. I think a lot of the stuff he's been doing and saying is actually a normal response. Because I do believe he wanted to be in Kansas City. He didn't want to leave. The Chiefs just had a breaking point where they were like, yeah, we're not going to pay you that. And then they let him choose where he wanted to go. And I'm sure he likes in Miami, but he had things very good here with the Chiefs. And it's hard to leave something like that. And I can understand Tyreek's perspective. And at the same time, all the things that he's saying, a lot of them I think is getting overblown by the fans. I go back and I really listen to some of the stuff that he says on his podcast or whatever, and it's not really that bad. A lot of times it's in jest, or it's just it's clickbait, and he doesn't actually say anything all that bad. And as you said, he was one of the best receivers in franchise history. He helped to bring us the Super Bowl. He was super exciting to watch. I will never hate that man. I understand there's some initial pettiness, but 10 years down the line, when Tyreek Hill turns into a Deshaun Jackson of today, and he's not as good as he used to be, he's going to have a homecoming in Kansas City, and he's going to have 300 receiving yards and a few touchdowns when we win another Super Bowl 10 years from now, and everything will be fine and dandy, and he'll ride off into the sunset and retire as a Chief. That's what I think is going to happen. Everyone will forget about this weird little time that we're in where Tyreek Hill is bashing the Chiefs.
Well, I just hope that he hasn't burned the bridge, because with all the stuff that he's saying, Mahomes doesn't have to take him back. Andy Reid might not vouch for him again. If Andy Reid's still even the coach in 10 years from now, which he probably won't be. But really quickly, I think another thing that's funny is if you just kind of watch some of the stuff that he says on his podcast, I don't get mad at stuff like that just because, it's hard to get me mad about this kind of stuff. But I just think it's funny how he's trying so hard to convince us that Tua is this diamond in the rough, the most accurate quarterback he's ever played with, and blah, 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 blah. He's almost going so far to the point where it's dude, you got to stop. Just because at a certain point, the amount of hyping that he's doing to Tua, when he doesn't meet those expectations, it's just going to look really, really bad.
Yeah, it definitely gets to a point where it's now you're making it seem like you don't even believe what you're saying.
Oh, yeah. Just some of the stuff he says is outlandish, and who knows, it might just be for clicks. I wouldn't be surprised, but you're Tyreek Hill. Why do you care what people are saying on Twitter, and why do you care about how much attention you're getting? But, I don't know. Like I said, I try to avoid talking about this stuff for the most part because I didn't really want to feed into the machine, so to speak, but, it was interesting to talk about it here. I definitely think that we haven't heard the end of it. He'll say something in February about how he never really wanted to leave or something ridiculous like that, and it'll get blown out of proportion, but hopefully by that time the Chiefs will have another Super Bowl, so it'll just kind of be something under the rug.
Yeah, it ultimately won't matter. One more thing I wanted to talk to you about. It's my first time back on the show in however long, and we can't have a show without bringing it up. So I got a question for you. Yeah, this has become my show.
I'm glad, Josh. It's been a long day here at Sports Radio 810 WHB. I just kind of want to sit back and let you take over, and I'm just answering your questions. I'm having a great time right now.
Well, I was going to ask you next. How many weeks? No, or just what? How long until we're calling for one of the other three running backs behind Clyde Edwards-Helaire to be the starter?
Week 2. It'll be 2 weeks, and I don't know if you've heard my thoughts on Isiah Pacheco. I don't think he's going to be a bad player, but Chiefs fans are predicting he's going to be Kareem Hunt, and whenever the Chiefs kingdom on Twitter sees a running back in a Chiefs uniform, the immediate reaction goes to, oh, this guy might be Kareem Hunt 2.0. I just think that's a really stupid way of looking at things, and realistically, I think that if Pacheco can have 300 yards in his rookie season and get 25% of the carries, I'd be really excited about that. I'd be happy with that because I don't have these large expectations that if he doesn't fit them, I'm going to be crying or in just disarray because he doesn't meet Kareem Hunt standards in his rookie season.
Yeah, no, I actually tend to agree with you. I still think he'll carve out a role in this offense as a rookie, but I think we're so desperate to find the next running back after Kareem Hunt. You know, we've done it with everyone. Since Kareem Hunt had his sour ending in Kansas City, we've been trying so hard to find the next Kareem Hunt. And Isiah Pacheco fits the bill of a guy that gets Chiefs fans excited. But you know what? He has the speed and explosion that I think the Chiefs lack at the running back position, or, you know, that they need when instead they try to run Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And man, I could go on a whole rant about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'll try to keep it to a minimum. But Isiah Pacheco, he is an exciting player, but I tend to agree with you, mostly because, one, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to get those RB1 carries no matter how much we don't like it. Andy Reid's going to say, screw you, and he's going to give Clyde Edwards-Helaire the ball. Two, the Chiefs don't really tend to hand over their games to the ground attack, which means I don't think Pacheco's really going to get the opportunity to be that guy, especially in year one. I just don't see it happening.
I perfectly agree, because even Clyde in his rookie season didn't have this enormous impact because Andy Reid's not going to give a rookie running back in this offense a chance to flourish. It's just not going to happen. If it didn't happen for a first-round draft pick, it's not going to happen for a seventh-round draft pick. And I know that Pacheco might be way more talented than Clyde, but that doesn't really matter. It's just not going to happen, at least in year one. And I think that if we tailor our expectations, Pacheco could be a really nice piece. I mean, the fact that he's going to play at all this season, likely going to play this season, is a major win. He's a seventh-round draft pick. I really didn't expect him to make the team. I mean, I guess he probably was going to make the team, but the fact that he's going to have a chance to contribute at all this season is a major win, like a major win.
Yeah, I mean, you got to keep in mind, too, he's got Ronald Jones and also Jerick McKinnon to compete with for snaps. I know a lot of people are actually surprised that Rojo made the team. I'm not, and also I'm glad he made the team because I really think he could be useful. But, yeah, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
You know, I hope that Rojo finds some role in this offense because the Chiefs gave him, I think, a 1-year, $2.5 million deal. Still pretty low risk, but, you know, I think that if he could be that goal line runner or in the red zone when you just need to hand the ball off and have a guy get those yards, I still think that he could have that kind of role. In the preseason, he didn't really get any help from like the backup offensive line, but he also wasn't very good in training camp, so I'm still kind of out on Rojo. I think that we still need to see him prove, at least to Chiefs fans, that he's got something left in the tank. But I think that a lot of Chiefs fans have kind of turned their back on Jerick McKinnon, who I guess had surgery earlier this offseason, and that's kind of why he wasn't immediately back with the team. I hope that's right. I hope I didn't pull that out of nowhere. But
no, yeah, I think you're right, because I actually remember he got signed while I was in basic training, and then I remember coming back and going on Twitter and seeing that something about him at practice, and I was like, wait, he's back on the team?
Yeah.
So I think
and he was like testing free agency just to see if anyone else would pick him up and give him more money. So, I mean, I guess if you are completely out on him, I don't know what to tell you, but last year in the postseason and in the later weeks of the season, he was a really effective running back for the Chiefs.
He's the best running back on the team.
He
Michael.
was. Like, I was on that train with you, and come playoff time, I think in that AFC Championship game, which still hurts me to this day, if they would have gave him the ball more, we might have had a different outcome in that game.
There were a few drives, especially in the second half, where they tried to give Clyde a few drives by himself, and those drives didn't tend to work out very well.
Yeah, that game still hurts to think about. Like, it's almost out of my memory, but then when we have these kind of episodes and we have to bring it back up, I just think about how we blew that lead, and you were actually at that game too, so you got it worse than I did, but yeah, that game's brutal.
Yeah, definitely.
Man. So Josh, do you have anything else to add to this whole conversation? I know we kind of tried to talk about a variety of things. I didn't want to do a week 1 preview quite yet. We'll probably do that closer towards the weekend and closer towards the game because we'll get more details on the game and who will play and who won't. But I think we were able to kind of talk about some Chiefs topics that we haven't talked about. I know that, Josh, this is your first episode back, so I'm glad to have you back, and I'm just glad to get back to talking Chiefs with you.
Absolutely. Now, I know you're trying to wrap this up so we can, but before we sign off, I have a proposal.
Okay.
So, as you know, Mizzou versus K-State in college football this next Saturday.
Yes.
Let's say, something to unite you, me, and Lucas. Shout out Lucas.
Yeah, shout out Lucas Murphy.
Yeah, if K-State loses, I say all three of us should hop on a podcast and make fun of K-State.
I'll do that with you. Right now I will do that with you. I don't know if it'll happen, but I hope K-State loses. And as someone who currently, go ahead.
Here's the thing. I think it's a toss-up game, personally, but K-State fans seem to be really high on Adrian Martinez, and I really don't understand it. And Mizzou's defense looked really good in week 1. So if Adrian Martinez goes out there and throws like 3 interceptions and Mizzou wins by 2 touchdowns, I think it would be a great opportunity for KU and Mizzou to unite and make fun of K-State.
Oh, I do too. And as someone who currently attends the University of Kansas, K-State fans have this weird sense of reality where they could be playing Mizzou or they could be playing some random college, and if they win, they're chanting FKU and like this stuff like that. I hope that K-State fans realize that we don't care about them enough to actually bring them up, especially when we're killing them in basketball twice a year. Football's a different story. Hopefully we beat them this year in Manhattan. But yeah, K-State fans, They always got to bring up KU even when KU's not anywhere involved in the conversation. But Josh, it's been a pleasure to have you on. You've been asking me questions this entire podcast. Let me ask you this final question. Where can the people find you?
That's a great question. You can find me here on YouTube. It's just my name, Josh Fan. You can follow me on Twitter at ShowMeSD for Show Me Football, or my personal JoshFan43. And last but not least, make sure you check out my work on ShowMeFootball.com and ArrowheadAddict.com, where I also write articles.
Definitely go do that, guys. The links to all of his websites will be in the description. As for me, you can check me out on Twitter. That is at KC Sports Report. Instagram is KC_Sports Report. The website is KCSportsReport.com. Until next time, guys, thank you for watching this video, and go Chiefs.